Swansea wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. We're live, so make sure to comment along. I'll be showing your comments throughout the show. Of course, today it's Wednesday, October 9th, 2024, and usually that would mean today is a new show. But of course, this week AEW Dynamite was a day early, so I'm here to talk about AEW Dynamite, and it is going to be an entertaining show, hopefully. But also joining me to discuss last night's show, let's bring in Clark. How are you today, Clark?
I'm doing well as usual, Ben. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Tuesday Night Dynamite, who saw that coming out of nowhere? I had double shows yesterday. I had NXT off the air. We had, Tuesday. 4 hours of wrestling. Who would that hurt? 1 hour of broadcasting. Doesn't get much better. I'm stoked to be back and talk more wrestling.
Absolutely. It is going to be a fun one. Also joining us, we have Shad. How are you today, Shad?
I'm doing okay. Tony Khan, I'm still not over the fact that you decided to run your show at the same time as NXT off the air. The true Tuesday Night War was not NXT versus AEW Dynamite. It was NXT off the air versus AEW Dynamite. And we'll have to wait to see what the ratings and the numbers look. I'm thinking we're going to win just because I'm on the show, and Clark and Drizzy, but I'm on the show, and yeah. Let's get it.
I'll tell you what I've seen the early numbers, Shard, right? And if you include views from Reels, we've already got more views than they had fans in the building.
I heard Nielsen, we hit a 6.4,
there.
Just like Raw in the 90s. We hit 6.4 million, I heard from Nielsen. That's coming out this week later.
They don't exist anymore, Clark, unfortunately. They went bust a few years ago.
But they just came back.
Just for that figure,
literally just for this week.
Yeah.
Just for that night, actually.
It was one night only.
Guys, let's start the show off with a bit. Let's start it off with a bit of an interactive question, shall we? Right. This isn't a trick question. Clark, what is this?
A Lego.
Correct. Shard, what is this?
A Lego.
I've got two Legos. I put them together, and I have built something. In fact, I have built more than AEW have for this entire Wrestle Dream pay-per-view. What are they doing? I mean, seriously, right?
Guns are blazing already. I like it.
They've had like
have 5
Legos.
weeks to build this pay-per-view, and they just haven't. I can't get my head around it for a second. I don't know what they're doing. I really, really do not. Other than the main event, which, to be honest with you, doesn't feel as important as Danielson versus Moxley should do, when, realistically, there's been a 3-year build for it. I don't get it, and it's sad. And we'll jump straight into Darby Allin and Brody King first, right? Because this is a match.
I have a question, Ben.
Oh, first. Yeah? Go for it.
What total Lego structure did you just take those two pieces off of for this segment?
I went into I asked my brother, and I said to him, "Can you give me 2 pieces of Lego?" And he got me 2 pieces of Lego.
But we're gonna have to find that out later.
I have no idea where they came from.
Give me these 2 off the Death Star.
Perhaps so. But Darby Allin, Brody King, this is a match which was thrown together. 2 guys which I like a lot. I think they're both massively talented, but it was a thrown together match. Brody King answered Darby Allin's open challenge. It all felt extremely, extremely random. And then last night they did a promo to build this, and I've got mixed feelings about this promo because on one hand, it actually did tell a story. It actually did advance a story. It did give us a bit of context and did make me more excited for the match. So in that way, considering they only had 1 Dynamite to build the match, fair enough, it did its job. On the other hand, it's like somebody told Darby Allin that he needs to improve his acting a little bit, and he thought that meant talk faster and louder, because he was just shouting into the mic faster and faster throughout the promo. The acting was awful. Brody King looked stunned, like he didn't know what to do. He started trying to speed it up. It was just a disaster class of a promo, but it did tell a story. So I'm a bit divided on it, but Clark, I want to get your thoughts.
I echo a lot of the sentiments that you have as far as like the speed. I'm wondering if there was like a timing issue that was off. I can't fathom that he did that on purpose. It was too goofy. But to your point, it did tell a great story. I mean, look, I went out on Saturday night with some friends in Newport. I was wearing my Wrestling Republic shirt. Guy came up to me, taps me on the shoulder, goes, "Hey, do you know who Brody King is?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." He's like, "He's a wrestler too, right?" I said, "Yeah, what do you mean too? Like, I'm not a wrestler. I work at Wrestling Republic." He's like, no. I mean, like, his band, I've seen God's Hate 8 times. They're one of my favorites. He's a wrestler too. Is he good? And I go, "Yeah, he is. He's really good." And the guy's multi-talented. And the story that they told about him and Darby's relationship, staying in terrible motels and talking about how they're going to make it. I mean, Brody King's from just north of me in LA, the Kia Forum, right across the street from SoFi, Ben, where we attended WrestleMania 39. He was a parking lot attendant while he trained in pro wrestling and was the lead vocalist of a hardcore punk band. This guy is very, very, very talented. So I'm excited to see Darby and Brody work together. And I like the story because I know the backstory between these two. And the execution wasn't perfect, but I'm cool with it. I think Darby maybe he was just in a mood. I don't know what it was. Felt like just a skosh of an off game for Darby Allin in my eyes. And I do agree with you on it. As far as the fast talking aspect of it, for lack of a better way to put it, it didn't land the way I think it could have. But I do love the idea of Brody King and Darby Allin working together. And it makes a heck of a lot more sense to backdate because people don't forget of their interactions in the past, him choking Darby over the ropes and whatnot in that battle royal and all of that. It makes sense that they're so tied together, knowing that historically, Darby brought him in. Darby had his back. They have similar interests and they're friends outside of the product.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's a good point you brought up. And I have a go at them a lot, AEW. And in fact, I had issues on this exact show with them not showing promo packages of old stuff they're referencing. They did for this, and they did it well. It worked. I'm going to be honest, I forgot about that in 2022, but they showed it to me, and now I remembered it. If you're a new fan, you now know. So I'll say it again. I think considering they only had 1 week to build this feud, 1 episode to build this feud, they did do a good enough job in that time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they handcuffed themselves for no reason. They didn't have to only have 1 week. That was their own doing. That's what I don't understand about this. But hey, the Darby's acting aside, I think it did its job. But Shad, do you?
Darby Allin, in the words of Red Fox, you big dummy. You big dummy. What are you doing here, man? I'm sorry, bro. I'm done with it. I'm tired of it. I can't have his back anymore. You had an opportunity to have a match in your home state against the world champion, and you gave it up. And you gave it up for this. You gave it up for an open challenge. And this is an open challenge that does absolutely nothing for the guy. It just resonates and continues the notion that Darby Allin is not seen as the top guy. He's not seen as a potential world champion. And it makes me upset because I view him as the underdog, as a person that can reach those heights. He's so dedicated and so devoted to AEW, but for some reason, we're not seeing him push to that extent. And he's had so many premier matches, but it just looks like he's the stunt dummy. He's the dance partner to make everybody else look good. I want him to have his Jeff Hardy moment at some point, right? I want him to surpass being just a mid-card guy at best, be a world champion. But in regards to yesterday's exchange, it came off very unnatural. He did not seem like he was himself. The character that I'm used to seeing, the character that I'm a fan of, Darby Allin, was not there. He was just talking overly loud. Like you said, he was talking at a faster pace. It came off as awkward, and it made me laugh. Like I was laughing at him kind of promo, and I don't like that. And I don't want to be negative towards it because I'm a fan of the dude, and I see higher, expectations for him. But when you do stuff like this, it makes me want Brody King to completely destroy you on Saturday. I want him to win this match just because you already got me upset that you are in this match, and now you're acting like a fool. I don't want to see you win the match. I want Brody King to win. But like y'all said, I mean, there's history between them. I do understand that. I agree with a lot what you said. Still like, my bad. I don't know what just happened there. A lot of it is tied to it being such a abrupt build to the feud, and we have to pick up a lot of pace at a short amount of time. This is why we have to do that, and that doesn't benefit your wrestlers, and that doesn't benefit your show when you have to do that. If we're gonna book, you got to give it a good amount of time. So yeah.
Absolutely no, Shad. I do agree with you. I don't know if I agree with you that I want him to be destroyed now, but I do agree that it wasn't his best work, and especially wasn't his best work when it comes to just. We thought a couple of weeks ago that there was a possibility this guy was going to be the next AEW champion. We thought he could beat Bryan Danielson, and then in the end. It's not happened, does it? It's not followed through that way. He lost his championship shot. John Moxley now has it. And it kind of just feels like it's gone all downhill from there for Darby. He's now back in the mid-card. He's in a makeshift feud. I think the match is going to be great, like both of you guys have said.
Makeshift seems like a bit of a stretch, though, Ben, because obviously they
is
did
a
give us the
makeshift.
history at least. It's rushed, but it's not makeshift. But they have history.
Well,
they do have history, and they presented that
Every
last
guy
night.
on that roster has history,
But
realistically.
if they have history that was presented well, it doesn't makeshift means that they forced some sort of I don't like you because of this. In my eyes, that's now I'm nitpicking about literally
That's what
the
I believe
adjective.
they've done. And I believe they've taken elements of past, which, by the way, I praise them for this part. They've taken bits of their past and put it together, and it makes sense. But I think that they did that well last night, and I'll praise them for it. But it's still a makeshift feud because it's not like these guys had any issues a few weeks ago, and there was no catalyst for why they have issues again now.
Right.
It's like, whoops, we have nothing for both men. Let's revive a 2-year-old feud for no reason.
It is like our anger bubbled back up.
That's the issue. It's hard for me to invest in it when he had an opportunity to be on the show for the biggest title. You gave that opportunity away. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care if you're a babyface and you're doing it for the art of competition and people messing with you and whatnot. You're an idiot. You're an idiot when you do that, and I don't want to root for an idiot. I'm sorry, Darby. I'm taking my fanship away from you.
Oh wow! No longer a
temporary, or is this an indefinite suspension, or is it how's this?
Surely,
few weeks. Can he bounce back?
As of now, it is a long term. I'm on the I dislike Darby fan club, and I might need to make it a fan club. I might.
Is he out of the rotation?
Yeah, man, he's down the power rankings. I think I would rather root for class acts on AEW, like the guy that you're about to talk about next. Both of the guys.
Well, I am not a collider, as they call them. I'm not somebody who watches Collision week in and week out, right? I always watch the results, I always watch the highlights, but I don't usually watch it from start until finish or full matches unless something's been recommended to me. So I've not actually seen a hologram match until last night. I've seen a ton of highlights from him, so I know a lot about him. I've seen his entrance, I've seen all of that. But this was the first match I saw of his, which from start until finish, him versus Commander. And as you would expect with this style, and, the AEW rings where the ropes are a little bit slippy, there was a couple of, risky moments during it. Moments which kind of went wrong a little bit. But the thing which impressed me the most about this match was how well these two guys recovered those moments. They covered them up like it was meant to happen. I remember on the rope at one point, Commander slipped and Hologram helped him back up. And then Commander took control of the wrist again, making it look like the reason he fell was because he didn't have control of the wrist. In reality, it was the ropes. But it was just small things like that throughout this match. It felt like these guys were two veterans, despite the fact they're young. And it was a really, really fun match, a really enjoyable match. First time seeing a hologram match start until finish. Really, really impressed me. I understand the hype around him, But I do have an issue. And my issue is his mask, right? And I'm not talking about the mask design. I'm talking about the fabrics that it's made of. It seems like it's from a dollar store, right? He's wearing a mask made out of jobbers material. Come on, give this guy a better mask, right? And not the design. The design's fine, but the material, you don't need him to have a bit of cloth on there. Let's have some ingrained patterns on there. Let's make it a little bit cooler, shall we?
They just got money from the TV deal. I think the
So how about
first
some
thing
like
that
sweat wicking material?
the first thing that we're gonna put into
Yeah.
is getting him a better mask. Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand. His mask looks like it's from a dollar store, but he looked great in the ring, and so did Commander. And then, of course, after the match, well, things got interesting because earlier in the night, Don Callis signed Lance Archer, and in return, sold the services of somebody to Jake the Snake Roberts. And we found out it was LIJ, it was Roosh. And yeah, they attacked both Hologram and Commander after the match. And I guess that's going to be a feud now. I'm also guessing that's probably going to be on Collision. And the reason they did it on Dynamite was because people have been criticizing them doing big moments on Collision. So I actually like this. I do like the fact that they did this big reveal on Dynamite, and then the story will probably continue to play out on Collision. But Clark, I want to get your thoughts on Commander versus Hologram. Does this make you want to watch Collision on a weekly basis to see more of these two guys?
Okay, so that's a difficult question. I already do try to watch Collision. I don't necessarily watch it live every Saturday night, but I do get it in by the end of the weekend because I enjoy AEW programming, even when it's not at its finest. And I'm not saying that it's always Collision where it's not at its finest, but it just, even when it's not, I enjoy watching pro wrestling, so I check it out. When it comes to this one, Hologram and Commander, I enjoyed the match. I love the Lucha Libre style. And it's funny because, we talk about botches and things like that often. Lucha Libre wrestling, you're going to see a faster pace than you are standard matches. And there's just more room for error in a match like that. You're going to have slip ups when you're pulling stunt after stunt after stunt after stunt. And you can gas yourself out. I think we need to give him a break. And to Ben's point earlier, I think he made a great point about grabbing the wrist and solving them. Last night, we saw a slight botch in the main event on NXT. Randy Orton and Javon Evans, and Javon missed the corkscrew spot with the RKO. Randy picked him up, solved the problem. The match was still fine. We're a little harsh on those at times. In the rating system, that's where we should be. I don't think necessarily it was the end of the match or the end of the world when it comes to judging this match. The few slip-ups on ropes and little spots here and there. That finish was great. The portal bomb, I think, is beautiful. And the athleticism is off the charts. But give me more Jake Roberts. That's what I really wanted to talk about, is Jake Roberts being back. Jake the Snake. Talk to me about that. I love it. Beast Mortis takes an extra second there, obviously, to show his allegiance because, well, he's a beast. But at the same time, I love that. I like the rivalry. And yeah, I'm going to check it out on Collision is the answer to the question. And I was going to anyway.
Nice. I just find it another 2-hour show in the week. I was watching it at the start, but it was just like, I mean, like I said, I still always watch the highlights and always watch the results, read the results too. But it's just the fact that there's not usually enough newsworthy or good matches on it now for me to check it out. Whereas in the early days of the show, every single week you were having like a banger match. I'm sure it might not be as newsworthy as Dynamite, and rightfully so. Dynamite's the flagship. There was still a match which made the show worth checking out. And it's been a little while since we've seen one of those, and it kind of has felt like they've rampaged it a little bit as of late. But yeah, I mean, I did like this match, like
funny,
you said.
by the way.
That's the phrase now.
I will say this before we go to the next topic. I do like the fact that Hologram is, they're noting that he's got all these victories, that he's on such a big win streak.
Yeah.
It makes him seem like he is a threat. And it being like, they got a lot of these great high flyer Lucha style wrestlers. I personally enjoy it because I miss like the cruiserweight division a lot. And it feels like AEW's kind of built their little cruiserweight division that's doing well.
Absolutely. I agree. Maybe they should. They love introducing titles. One which I genuinely jokes aside would not mind at all if they introduced was a Cruiserweight Championship. Because one, that's actually got a stipulation. And you guys know what I say. Mid-card titles make no sense unless they have a stipulation. But secondly, because I think they got the rosters to do it as well. I mean, it is also a good point as well, Clark. You know, you said it, in the lucha style, it's easier to make mistakes because you're working at a much faster pace. It is a lot, more difficult to do. Perhaps you're being too harsh earlier on Darby Allin. Perhaps he wanted to create a new promo style, a lucha libre promo style. He wanted to be inspired by their moves.
Now you're just disrespecting Lucha Libre.
I think Darby would rather Darby would like the jobber belt, the jobber belt. Darby Nice Guys finished last, and that's what's happening to you.
Oh, wow.
I like Darby. I think he's a good promo. Just last night, he had an off night, but we can have off nights, guys. Hopefully he'll bounce back on the weekend in his makeshift match against Brody King. But now let's move on, and let's talk.
Just getting in late finger pokes of doom. He's just poking.
But let's move. It's not getting much better in this next segment, I'll tell you that. So we also had a fatal 4-way on Dynamite. We had you know what, before I get into this, I'm actually I'm gonna do a progress read because I need something to just be positive about for a split second here. Guys, if you guys don't know what Progress Wrestling is, they are one of, if not the biggest wrestling promotions in the United Kingdom, and they have a streaming service which has been newly updated called Demand Progress Plus. But what's really impressive about Demand Progress Plus is it's not just Progress on there, right? It's got everything from the history of Progress on there, plus Defy Wrestling, plus TNT Extreme Wrestling, plus a variety more independent promotions from around the world. I say it every day, but I genuinely mean it when I say it. It is my favorite wrestling streaming platform. And for our viewers here at Wrestling Republic, we have a code. And that code is Watch Progress 1 to get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress, Defy, and more. Seriously, guys, it's worth checking out. It is an absolute banger of a streaming service. But somebody who's very familiar with putting on bangers is Willow Nightingale. Somebody else who's very familiar with putting on bangers is Nyla Rose. Also, Jamie Hayter. Also, Saraya. She's not the level she once was, but she still had some good matches in AEW. But the fact is, yesterday, it was announced that Willow versus Britt was cancelled because Britt was ill. We hope you're doing better now, Britt. But instead, this fatal 4-way match would be taking place. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think it was a great move, right? The fans in attendance still get to see Willow. There's still a championship shot at stake. And it is also fairly unpredictable, right? A lot of things could have happened in this. And I was like, yeah, I think it'll be a really fun match. I'm excited for it. And it started off fine. It started off, completely fine. It was a little bit sloppy, but it did its job. But then, as it went on, I mean, I don't know who was producing this match, but it might have been a 2-year-old. Because I genuinely think, right, I know 5-year-olds who could produce a match better than this. I mean, just
I'm gonna press this button.
I mean, honestly, they're a better shot. Who in a million years, right? So Penelope Ford attacked Jamie Hayter, right? And then Jamie Hayter decided to leave the match to run after Penelope Ford. She decided to throw her championship opportunity in the trash just so she could chase after Penelope Ford. The only person who should be chasing after Penelope Ford is Kip Sabian. Anybody else is like, what are you doing? Like, she's attacked you, sort it out later. You've still got an opportunity to win. If you were going to have Penelope Ford cost her the match, have her properly take out Jamie Hayter, not just do a hit and run. I mean, that was very, very stupid. But unfortunately, it gets worse because Nyla Rose gets taken out of the match. And then Saraya and Harley Cameron try and put a table in the ring. And as a viewer, I can quite clearly see about 10 seconds before it happens that one of the legs of the table is sticking out. And Harley Cameron's trying to put it in the ring. It's not going in the ring. We can see why. people were hating on her quite a lot. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt here, right? Because obviously with the cameras, we can see under the table. She's there. A lot of people are watching her. In the moment, she's above. She can't see that one of the legs are up. Now, I think it probably could have been worked out a little bit faster than it was, but it was eventually worked out. But unfortunately, at this point, it had been a minute. So we had just had Saraya, who did get up at one point and start hitting Willow. And in the end, Willow managed to win, put them both through a table. But Nyla Rose was on the outside for about 4 minutes at the end of the match, just sitting there doing nothing. I do not know what happened in this match. It was an absolute mess, and it's a real shame. But Willow versus Mariah May, we finally got there, and I'm excited for it. Shad, what were your thoughts on whatever this was?
Well, let's first, let's try to connect the dots because that wasn't Jamie Hayter that was in the match last night. I listened to our AEW World Women's Champion Mariah May. She would never lie to us. She is literally the ambassador of AEW at this point, and she notified that was Daphne from Scooby Doo. So, from my understanding, Daphne was trying to do her job, and she was trying to be a meddling kid and fight a villain backstage, looking for the mystery mobile. She was doing her job, Ben Allison. So let's respect Daphne. They needed to get some extra people over there, and they got a celebrity, right? But all jokes aside, wasn't the best match. It was very clunky. The chemistry was off. I don't know if it's of a basis that, like you said, last minute they kind of bunched it together. But when you have the talent in that match, a lot of former champions, your expectations is for it to be a lot better, and it didn't really deliver. So that is unfortunate. I did come off with some positives. I loved Mariah May on commentary. I think she's absolutely hilarious. I think she's so snobby, arrogant as a heel champion. I think she's doing a great job saying, hopefully 3 people can just eliminate the rest of them so I can just have a night off. Like stuff like that, asking for Karen Jarrett. It made it tolerable. I do want to see a Jamie Hayter and Willow match at some point because that interaction between both of them in the middle of the ring was interesting. Saraya, I've been saying it for the longest time. I'm about to add her to the list where I did yesterday, where PFC is now crowned the worst women's faction in Shad's opinion in professional wrestling. Saraya is chilling on the same island as them as a solo star. So congratulations to her. Let's give her a round of applause. But we got Willow as a champ, and I'm excited for it, bro, because I think Willow versus Mariah May, revisiting it back to what we had at the Owen, I think this is the way to go. I think these are the 2 bright stars in your women's division. I think Mariah May is the best heel women's wrestler on AEW, and I think Willow Nightingale is the best babyface women's wrestler in AEW. And I think this is maybe the first chapter to it, but like I said, this could be a monumental, iconic feud if built right. So we'll see what goes on to it. Like I said, like a lot of other matches at Wrestle Dream, it's kind of being booked a little quickly, but I'm not going to complain about seeing Willow and Mariah May on my TV screen on Saturday. So, yeah, I'm hyped for Willow.
That kind of does seem to be a bit of a theme of this pay-per-view, right? Like, as a hardcore wrestling fan, I'm genuinely, jokes aside, very excited for a lot of these matches. But it is just because we know how good they are in ring. It's not because there's an actual story there, and that's the unfortunate thing. And I guess we'll see how well that sells, because we will see. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe you don't need a story nowadays in wrestling. I'd be very sad about that, but
we'll just need an established brand, and then it just sells itself. You can give us whatever we want.
But they're not an established brand, are they?
No, that's what my joke is I'm like, we compare them like it used to be like 4 pay-per-views a year is not enough. Now they're too close together because there's not enough time to build matches.
No. That's my point. They've had 5 weeks. And they've spent 1 week building everything because of Grand Slam. I mean, I don't know, right? I don't think they've got too many.
Grand Slam is a special event, though.
No, it's It's not for every single match. I think like with the Ospreay match, you have a little bit of a build of it for the last couple weeks. Obviously, to catch
It's a
an
lazy build,
Ospreay's
though.
been
It's not
kind of,
that.
but and then obviously Moxley and Danielson, which we'll talk about next.
Yeah.
But some of the matches have been built kind of last minute. AEW does do that a lot, and to the benefit of the doubt, once the pay-per-view happens and the match quality is as amazing as it is, us as the fans just kind of be like, "Oh yeah, that was a great show." So we kind of, it's the formula. I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No, but it's not. I'm going to defend them there for a second. They always chuck on like a couple of like last minute matches. They do that, but there's never, apart from All Out 2023, been a show where they've just thrown so many matches together in the last week. There's never been a show on that level before. They usually have multiple key storylines and then a few thrown together ones. There's the main event, which we'll talk about now, which I'm going to be honest.
Danielson's potential final match isn't a key storyline?
I just said other than the main event, Clark.
Okay. Well, that's one. Count it.
That is the main event. But
we're going to talk about that on Friday for sure.
Oh, absolutely. DCX Warlord says Willow for champ. 1000% Willow is a heck of a talent. I think her and Mariah are going to do big things this weekend. I'm really excited for it. But now let's talk about Danielson's final match. Will it be the final countdown? Will we hear that song for the final time? I actually think so. And this is why I'm a bit worried about this. I felt like we felt going into a match that there was a lot higher chance that Danielson could retire in his match against Swerve compared to this. But I actually, the more that I think about it, I am thinking that this is going to be his last match, or at least his last match for now. Because every week, last week they said it would be his final match for good. The week before they said it'll be his last full-time match, and the week before they said for good again. And now this week they said last full-time match. So we don't know. What we do know is he's made it public. He needs a neck surgery this year. There's only 2 more pay-per-views left this year afterwards. Maybe we do a rematch at Full Gear. And I'm going to be honest with you, I would not be against that at all, because you can tell a bigger story between Danielson and Moxley. Because so far, it's been good, but it feels like the early days of the story. This doesn't feel like the ending. And last night, that tag match, it kind of felt like they were rushing it through. It kind of felt like, the entire Utah thing, like it just felt rushed to me. It wasn't a bad match. It was a good main event. The crowd was a bit quiet, but I just really hope this is not his final match on Saturday, because if it is, it does not feel like that. It does not have that build, and that sucks, because Danielson and Moxley, they've been teasing it the entire time they've been in AEW, right? But it just feels things missing. A few more weeks of build are missing. Maybe some more promos are missing or something. DCX Warlord says Wheeler is going to cost Mox. I hope that happens, right? Because if this is just a stepping stone to Full Gear, to another match between the two, I'll actually be all for it, right? And I think they have built it up enough for it to do that. But if this is legitimately his final match, I don't think this is enough. And I don't think last night's main event of Dynamite was, quite frankly, enough either. Shad, I want to get your thoughts on this first.
I thought the match itself was solid. I mean, you have 4 phenomenal professional wrestlers. It did its job, but like you said, it was the ending. It was the closing segments of Danielson and Moxley kind of just fighting backstage, and Yuta being left in the middle, getting attacked by the rest of the faction, where it has me thinking, it's going to come down to Wheeler Yuta. And I think that's kind of the premise of my problem. Because I just, as a fan, am not invested in Wheeler Yuta for some reason. I don't know what it is. I don't think he sold me a ticket as being someone that I need to be empathetic for, being the young guy in the group. It's nothing against him. I just haven't gained that, that connection to him. It just hasn't been there. But to your point, it doesn't feel like this is going to be the last hurrah for him. This doesn't feel like it's going to be the last match for him, because I don't think it's been built like to that moment in time. It felt like it, like you said, to the Swerve match where, this might be it. It's being positioned and treated like that. And I think the biggest worry is the fact that it's Wrestle Dream and it's in his home state. Wrestle Dream to me is not one of the big marquee pay-per-views. I feel like it would be positioned in a bigger limelight show for it. And Danielson is an incredible liar. He's so good at lying. He lies about hurting his neck in matches all the time. I think we're gonna get an angle where he's gonna get written off for a little bit, and then he's gonna come back, and we'll get the last series of matches there. Because I don't think him and Moxley are done at this point. I think he does retain, but I think this storyline is more about Moxley, and this storyline is more about the new BCC. I think we need to create an identity and create them to be more of a, rough around the edges heel faction, and I think that's what is more telling for it. I think Moxley being positioned as a heel for the first time in a while is what we're trying to garner and get. We gotta hate Moxley. We gotta hate him. He's the heel, but we don't hate him because he's been the face of the franchise for a while. He's done so much good for AEW. Now we gotta let him get dastardly and devilish as he can, and that lies on what he does to Danielson. But I don't think this is going to be the last match. I don't think he loses it on Saturday at all. I think that's more so for him to get another moment in a tally to win the title in his home state. And I think it's also of a standpoint to add some more fuel to Moxley and his group as a faction.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very good point. And to your point as well, right? If this isn't the final match, if this is just another match, one of his final matches, probably his final match in his home state, then I think this has been built great. I think they've done a really good job of building it, right? But it depends what this is meant to be. And if it's meant to be his final match, then no, it's not been built well enough. If it's just if it's just another title defense for a main event of a B pay-per-view, I think it does the job. Clark, what's your thoughts?
I mean, so I'm with you on. I'm thinking of like some of the final matches historically, right? And you look at one that always bugs me because it's so great. Rock and Austin, Stone Cold's basically final match at a pay-per-view like that, the big one. When it comes to that, the original Stone Cold final match, that wasn't even the main event. And I thought that was wrong at the time, right? If you look all the way back, this one's at least the main event, but I also don't think it's his final match. You're not, and not only that, if it's not, and Wheeler Yuta interferes, I think we're all wrong on that. That's not what I want to see. If Wheeler Yuta attempts to interfere, there's nothing babyface about that, and that'll bug me to death. That will absolutely bug me to pieces. Then that's not what I want when it comes to this situation. I want to see Bryan Danielson in a great match back and forth with Moxley, either retain. I don't hate a DQ finish here. I really don't. Extend the rivalry. I understand the neck injury thing. I don't want to call it conjecture because I don't know the diagnosis, but there is a difference. Let's not get confused. This isn't the same situation as Saraya, Big E, Adam Copeland, where a neck injury is what put him out in the first place. As long as his brain's okay, there's not an athlete on this planet right now that's playing not in pain. And if anyone can do it, it's Bryan Danielson. So whether he needs the surgery or not, it could be arthroscopic for all we know. Given
he said
right
that
now,
it's unlikely he's going to be able to get cleared after the neck surgery.
On his neck.
Yeah, he said he needs neck surgery later this year, and he's been told he should have it now, but he's pushing it back until later this year as long as he can.
What is the injury?
And then once he has it,
that
it's
being
unlikely
the case,
he can return.
What's the injury?
I mean, I actually have no idea. I'll carry on talking, and I'll try and find out.
Because now I'm curious, because I live by the love pro wrestlers, but they are pro wrestlers at the end of the day. Take every little thing with a grain of salt, right? For all we know, it's a scrape out and he'll be cleared by February, because that pop, as soon as we get to do Yes Chance, will be gigantic if we actually think it's done. And maybe he's not so fast. To quote my favorite College Game Day analyst, which isn't Pat McAfee, even though big ups Pat, Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. One of those I'm fine with too with Danielson, but Ben, it does look like you looked it up. What is the official injury diagnosis there?
So it's he needs the exact same type of surgery that he had that made him retire the first time. It's a nerve in his neck. It's the exact same neck surgery.
Bryan had to retire the first time because of the brain damage part. That was all
So
CAT
it was
scans.
because of the neck, and then during that time, he got the neck cleared before he got the brain cleared because of the amount of tests they did on him because of concussions.
Got it. Fair. Okay, so the initial injury is a neck injury, and he's got to basically have the same. So slipped a disc likely, or is it a ligament? I'm not sure.
It's
We'll
a
see.
cervical foramen Tommy.
Yeah, that's going to be
Oh,
an
that's
issue.
the surgery. Sorry, that's the surgery.
Name of the surgery. Yeah,
decompress
no,
the
that's a major
nerve root.
surgery. Yeah, that is a major surgery with a major recovery. Some people do bounce back from that type of a surgery quicker than others. It does depend, and it depends on the severity. If it's on the opposite side of where the initial surgery was, maybe he has a better chance. You don't know. I don't want to recklessly speculate on someone else's injury when it comes to that, because people heal at different rates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You never know. I do understand that it sounds more grim than I was aware of, for sure, when I made my initial statement about it. But I would like to believe that this is not the end. Maybe his last match again in his home state, or maybe just one more stamp in case it's his last match in his home state, which is fair enough to a guy like Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan. He's earned that throughout his career. So at least in case the surgery doesn't go as planned, in case the healing process doesn't go as planned, you at least have this to bank on. But I don't think the plan is for this to be his final match ever.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was in the first place either.
I hope you're right. I really, really hope you're right, Clark. And to your point as well, with this entire run, I think the reason why they keep using these terms is I think his plan is to have this surgery, be out for maybe a couple of years. Because don't forget, he's not that old now. He's, I think, mid-40s. Be out for a couple of years and then come back on a part-time schedule. Literally do an Adam Copeland. I think that's probably his plan. But so this is his final countdown of
broken leg dives.
Yeah,
do an Adam
maybe
Copeland
shouldn't
less
be
broken leg
jumping
dives.
off a cage, should he? And probably even a more limited time schedule than Adam Copeland's on. But I think he said that before. He said he wants to do part-time afterwards, but now they keep going back and forth. Maybe that is the plan. Maybe the plan is treat this like it will be the end, but hopefully it won't be. But they won't know until after he's made a recovery, unless it is a work. Maybe we even worked into a shoot. Imagine that.
That would be wild.
That would be impressive.
I do think the severity of a neck injury like that it'd be a difficult thing to justify working.
Yeah, that's the thing.
In
that's
fairness.
what I.
Right.
I really don't think it's going to work. But meanwhile, Gypsy Outlaws is saying that he's going to retire and then go to WWE. I can't see that happening, to be honest with you.
That man is he is one of the most important people in AEW. Tony Khan will never let that man leave the building. Even if it's leaving just wrestling, that's fine, but he's not leaving that building. That guy he's doing some big stuff for professional wrestling, and you got to tip your hat off to that, because that's needed. He's helping a lot of people out. A lot of young wrestlers too go to him for a lot of advice and, with their careers. So man, let's come on, man. Y'all need to stop it. Let that man. He's happy doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Come on, man. If you miss Daniel Bryan, go watch it on the Peacock or YouTube.
Or the Netflix very soon. But I mean, that's only in the UK where the network's going to.
No, not us. We can't watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, you'll have to continue watching it on Peacock. But I mean, I agree. But also, it's very poetic of Bryan Danielson to retire in the competitor brand as well. Like that is, I think that's very fitting for him too.
Pretty much the most. Well, I mean, even his quote about what he told his wife Brie about why he wanted to go to AEW. He said, "I feel like I have to do this for myself, not for anybody else, but for myself." And I loved that quote. Right? It was like, no, this is where I want to be there. And he didn't speculate on reasons, but you can in your own head wrap your head around why he would want to do that.
Yeah.
Knowing who he is, knowing his story, why Bryan in particular would want to make that move.
1000%. I agree with you. But on that note, guys, that does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you, Shad. Thank you, Clark, for joining me. And thank you to everybody for commenting along, for watching with us, watching over on Twitter today. We've had quite a few viewers there. Thank you so much. We will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, for a little bit of news. See you guys then. Bye. Peace.